Creatures of the night, I'm back with an update. So if you watch season 6 of Dark Side of the Ring, or if you watch my reviews, or both, then you would have been familiar with the Billy Jack Haynes episode. Now I know some of y'all just like, Billy Jack Haynes, who the hell is that girl? Billy Jack Haynes did wrestle in the WWF back in 86 through 88. To be honest with you, it might be faint in your memory who this may be. The best way I can actually think of maybe refreshing anyone's memory on who this may be, he was on WrestleMania 3, and he went against Hercules on that pay-per-view. It did end up in double count out, some shit like that, so there was no actual winner, but whatever, he was on there. That's the best I can do in terms of letting y'all know who this person was. Now, he had his own episode dedicated to him about, the dark side of the ring and whatnot, for many different reasons. Now, on this episode, he's actually being interviewed about, his time as a wrestler in his life and things like that. And what you're going to notice immediately is that the producers and the crew of the show are literally in jail interviewing him, and you're just like, well, what the hell happened? Why are you up in here? Now, it actually turns out that on February 8th of 2024, he killed his wife. So what ended up happening was, his wife was much older than him. She was 85 at the time that she had passed away. And he was like 70 or like 69. And people were just like, well, why are you with her? Is it money or is it something? Like, people were a little confused about why he would be with them. Some people did not necessarily felt like, he was a good partner for her. And it turned out to be true that he wasn't. So what ended up happening was that she had dementia. And she, obviously, with dementia, you're having issues cognitively. You can't remember things. And there were things that she just couldn't do for herself. And she was suffering. And her friends and family knew about this, but they got together, they got married, and they lived somewhat of a life together. And on one particular day, on February 8th, last year, he actually shot her. She had dementia. And when the police came over there, they had somewhat of a bit of a standoff with him for a little bit before they finally got his ass arrested. And, he said he did it because he loved her. She was suffering, and this was one of those mercy killing type of situation. So, in mercy killing situation, this is not legal in the United States. There are other countries where, I can't say that it's legal, but there are circumstances where it's, I guess, okay. So in this situation, she's suffering with dementia, and according to him, she told him that she was tired of suffering and she wanted to be put out of her misery. So he took a gun and shot her in the head, killing her. Now, I know it sounds weird, but it's like some people do have requests like that when they are suffering. However, in a situation like this where someone has dementia and not well in a mental state, they cannot give consent for something like that anyway. But he ended up doing it because he said that he loved her. So he's been locked up. They end up filming his episode while he's in jail. And he doesn't go into details about what's happening because the whole time that he is being filmed on the episode, his lawyer is sitting right next to him, not on camera, but answering things or whatnot, telling him, don't answer that, you can answer that, it's okay, whatever. He's really not listening. He's answering whatever the fuck you feel like answering anyway on the episode. But he's there. Now, what he does end up mentioning at the end of the episode was that he was not worried, that he knew that he would be okay, and that, the charges will be dropped and he's just going to, move on with his life, which I thought was interesting because of the confidence that he had with saying that. And the reason why he was confident about this is there is at least twice, maybe 3 times where lawsuits were being brought up in terms of the treatment of wrestlers over in WWF, WWE, and that because of their mistreatment, a lot of wrestlers end up having CTE, which obviously is true. Now, there was no, medical, help for these wrestlers that ended up developing CTE or any type of cognitive issues due to taking chair shots or whatnot. However, He sued them twice that I can think of, and I think he brought it back during the pandemic or sometime around that time. And obviously, those things were dismissed or whatnot. Now, throughout the time that he had stopped wrestling, he started doing like podcasts and videos of conspiracy theories and things like that that makes him sound like a total nut. And I think that's one of the things that made them determine that he is unfit for trial. So that's the outcome so far right now when it comes to this trial, because of number one, he's a crazy ass wrestler that took too many chair shots to the head. And then you have all these conspiracy theories that he's been spreading out for years on the internet, where you can easily just Google his name and see these conspiracy theories. Man, even one of them talking about Vince McMahon Sr. was his daddy or whatever. It's weird shit. And, he did all these things, and there are proof of him having what seems like mental breakdowns throughout the years. So now the judge is looking at this and just like, man, this man is crazy. He's unfit for trial. We cannot do anything at this point. So right now, he has been taken to the Oregon State Hospital, where he's going to be there. Now, look, because somebody's unfit for trial, does that mean that they got away with it? What that means is that he's going to get evaluated, he's going to get treated, and at some point, they may find him to be competent enough to be able to stand trial for this. Now, I'm not surprised, but a little bit surprised at the same time, because I feel like he's not crazy. He did these things with a clear mind, I believe. He said it himself that, hey, I love my wife. She asked me to do this, and I did this to take her out of a misery. Like it's not like he just walked up on her and just shot her. Well, you know what? We actually don't know that. We don't know what happened behind closed doors. But based off him seeming to be clear-minded in making that decision because of the love of his wife, then for me, I feel like he just had like things that he's done in the past, and him being a wrestler and possibly maybe having CTE, which we would not even know at this point. So that is stuff that helps him be able to, be deemed unfit. Now, like I said, mental hospital, they will figure it out, and maybe he'll go back to trial at some point for, these charges of second-degree murder. However, the estate of his wife are suing him for $750,000 for elder abuse. So they're suing him for elder abuse. They said that he was physically abusive, mentally abusive, and financially abusive. All these things might have been true, because like I said, people did not want them together. They thought he was shady. They thought something about him was off and didn't want them to be together. So at this point, they are suing him. Look, I know that man don't got a dime to his name, not a motherfucking dime to his name, and they're still going, with the proceedings of suing him. Now, whether if they get anything from him or not, which I'm sure they won't, I do feel like in some ways he's 71 years old right now. There's nothing's really going to happen to him. He's locked up. If they do bring it back to trial, but they're like, okay, you're not crazy, you can stand trial at this point. He did a whole interview about his life just a few months ago for Dark Side of the Ring. So how is it that he literally can't stand trial? I felt like he knew everything that he was saying, everything he's doing. If he's able to sit there and for a show talk about his life and things that he's gone through, I think he can be able to withstand trial. So in a way, he got away with prolonging things. Maybe at some point, if the judge or whomever were, residing over the proceedings of this case, they're gonna look at it and just be like, hold on, you did a whole episode on your life the other day. Wait. Maybe you are fit for this. So I do feel like it was a mistake for them to see him to be unfit for trial. Now, he doesn't deny that he did it. Obviously, he did shoot her, but his defense is, she's sick, she asked me to take her out of misery, and that's the only reason why I did it. So now, when I think of stuff like this, it made me also think of what would have happened, let's just say, what would have happened if Chris Benoit tried to commit suicide and he was not successful after killing Daniel and Nancy. What would have happened then? Would he have been deemed unfit for trial for those murders? because he was a wrestler. He had all these, situations in terms of mentally and psychologically going on with him. That could have been the case with him as well. We see time and time again where it's like, going through these things as a wrestler, it can physically change a person's mind and make them do things that they normally wouldn't have done if there was some mental stability going on. So it's really, really tricky to say. He has no proof of any CTE or anything going on with himself. He's just assuming like, hey, this is what I've been doing in my life, and I must be having these type of issues if I was wrestling all this time. So honestly, I feel like in a situation like that for him, he got away with it for now, just for now. And I'm sure at some point they're going to go back and look at things and just say, hey, you know what, we think you fit for trial. They'll put him for trial, and whatever the sentence may be, it is what it is. I would say honestly that he would have deserved it. Now, honestly, I do feel a little bit of sympathy because I know what it's like to have, like my mom when she had cancer, obviously seeing her suffering over and over again. And it's just like, damn, like, you always wonder, like, do these people want to go on? A lot of times people who are going through terminal illnesses, they don't want to go on. So there are countries in the world where they have like assisted suicide, medical suicide, where these people are signing things to say, hey, I don't want to deal with this anymore. My life is going to end. I'm in a lot of pain. And just please make it stop. And that's a legal way to doing that. I do believe a couple of states in the United States actually does that. But for the most part, this is something that is really frowned upon and kind of taboo, which I totally understand. But for him to just go upon himself and just be like, you know what? Sure, I'll do it and shoot her. Who actually knows if that was the case? He could have just been tired of her, thinking that, okay, maybe she had money, and if I kill her or something, if I made it seem like I did this because I love her and just want to take her out of her misery, maybe I get a little check or something. I don't know. Something, whatever wasn't in his mind, we'll never know. This is a really, really interesting case here. I don't think he's actually going to just get away with it. I think at some point they're going to be like, okay, this motherfucker is not as crazy as he seems, and he's going to be on trial. Guys, thanks so much for watching my video. I'll see you in the next one.